Good evening, HRC members. Again, this is Manny, running the meeting remotely from the Vallejo room. I see you all. Feel free to communicate with me through the microphone system in the chambers. And if you can also let me know if we end up running into any issues regarding quorum, I would really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Hi, can you hear me? And then how do you just...
Yes, I can.
So Manny, am I supposed to click the start meeting on the monitor?
Um, Here, I can log into that PC real quick and take a look.
I just need to know if I need to do anything with it.
No, you're good to go. Feel free to, you guys are ready to start the meeting, just go ahead and carry on. We are live on the website. We are live online, and I have all your presentations ready to go. So thank you.
Hi, everyone. It is 6:07 PM. I would like to call the Human Relations Commission meeting to order, starting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one God, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, let's do roll call. Chair Della Weeks Morris. Dela, excuse me. Vice Chair Demetra Stahl Nash.
Present.
Nona Cohen Bowman. Morgan Hannigan. Melvin Jones.
Present.
Courtney Davis. Marissa Serafino.
Present.
Start with the report of the chairperson and members of the committee and board. Report from the secretary. I have a couple of things to report out. There are 4 terms that expire on June 30th, 2025. Chair Dela Weeks Morris, Vice Chair Demetra Stahl Nash, Commissioner Courtney Davis, and Commissioner Morgan Hannigan. City Clerk Dawn Abramson will be sending each of you an email early June and instructing you to go through the process again, as reappointment is not automatic. She just completed a very long round of recruitment for a high number of vacancies on other boards and commissions, with appointment hopefully at the May 13th council meeting. So she does not anticipate opening the application and starting another recruitment for those with terms expiring at the end of June until early June. Go ahead, KK.
And just another note on that, although the terms are expiring and reappointment is not automatic under city ordinances, if the person has not been replaced yet, you would continue serving in that capacity until a replacement is appointed. Of course, you don't have to. If your term is out and you don't want to continue sitting, you can resign at any point. But you are not immediately ousted the second your term is ended. You would continue serving until someone else is appointed. And then if you would like to reapply for appointment for another term, then that's something you can do when the application process opens.
Report from Councilmember Matulik, liaison to the commission. He emailed and said that he was going to try to attend. Oh, he's here. Hi. There he is.
Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Um, Appreciate everyone showing up, and my apologies for not being there in person, but I'm actually up in Sacramento, representing the city of Vallejo at our Cal Cities Leadership Summit that's going on right now until Friday. So, as far as my report goes, I want to remind the commission that each commission actually has a $1,000 budget. So if there's some items that you as a commission would like to utilize that for, whether that be training or some materials, or for example, flyers that need to get printed for um, uh, setting up a table at the farmers market, things of that nature, that would be something you would want to put together a work plan and spell that out for your staff to put together and to present in front of city council. And that way we can expedite that approval. And that way you guys can do the work that you feel is necessary to help promote the Human Relations Commission and move forward from there. And so with that being said, I think it was already reported that we're in the process of filling quite a few positions on other commissions and boards. And we encourage you, just as you have put yourself out there and shared your voice, we encourage you to reach out to your neighbors and friends that have the similar voice and passion for Vallejo, and encourage them to fill whatever the vacant commissions and boards that are still there. And for those that may be looking not to continue with their term, to see if you can find a replacement for yourself on the Human Relations Commission. So we just want to get as many passionate voices out in the community as the advisory body to the city council. And we look forward to all the insights and a lot of the first conversations the commissions and boards have before it comes in front of us to city council. So once again, just encouraging more engagement within our community and looking to our commissioners as that first point of encouragement for others to get involved. So that would be the end of my report.
Thank you. Commissioner reports. We'll start with Madam Chair, and then whoever else would like to report out.
Good evening, everyone. Just briefly, I have been participating in the citizens training that the city allowed several of us to submit applications for. So it's been very exciting to hear about the different components of how the city government runs. And so I would encourage those of you that are not participating that the next round, I know a couple of us are participating as individuals, not as commissioners, but the third round, I'd encourage everyone to try to participate because you'll learn so much about how city government works here in Vallejo, and also be able to collaborate and partner with other citizens that reside in the city. The second piece is that there are some sessions that are going on around public safety, and so I would just encourage all of you to pay attention to what's coming out in the City of Vallejo news, as well as any flyers or communications that are being placed around the city so that we are aware of what's going on as it relates to public safety. And then that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other commissioners?
Hi. I also attend the Citizens Academy, and it has been very interesting. You know, you kind of learn. I didn't realize that the city manager had so much under his belt, you know, to handle. But I did want to say that I had looked into other human relations commissions just around the Bay Area to see how much they meet, because I see we meet every 3 months. The Beautification Commission meets once a month. So I was like, I feel like just especially with what's going on in our city, that maybe that's something we can look into, actually meeting once a month, because in every, like Alameda, LA, Palo Alto, I was just looking it up, they all meet once a month. And maybe it's just a consideration that I wanted to put out there, that we try maybe meeting once a month rather than every 3 months. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is it working? Okay. So I attended 2 city meetings, one was on the sweeps of the homeless, which it was very interesting with what they talked about, the involvement of the city workers with homeless and the rudeness and the disrespect that they're shown. They feel like they're less than, and they don't feel like they're heard, and they just feel like because they're homeless, they're dirty, and people wish that they were dead. It was very moving because the homeless were invited to this meeting. But they talked about the sweeps, which they said, you're going to sweep us, but we're just going to move and then come back. So it's Natalie Peterson did a great job, and COC, they did a wonderful job in trying to come up with solutions and hear what the homeless need and, you know, what their thoughts are. It's just like at the meeting, when they were invited, they were told that they were going to get $25 for attending, and when they got there, they realized they could not receive $25 because it was going to have to be, it was told to them they were going to be put in a check. Well, as we most know, the homeless don't have a bank account. And I think that it needs to be planned. I would like to see the people talk with the people that are on the ground that are actually working with the homeless so that we can get a better understanding. I mean, it would have probably been a better thing to give them a gift card from Safeway or a gift card to someplace instead of promising them a check, because it really caused a lot of issues. And there wasn't a good communication that evening. And I think that it's just, there's a missing component with the homeless advocates and the people who are in charge of running the homeless meetings. It's really important that we all be on the same page and know what the needs are and what they have. They did go through, after that meeting, we had a follow-up meeting, which was really good, because then we had the people that actually iHeart, which works with the mental illness, so that hopefully we can, give seminars. They can give us seminars how to work with the mental homeless, because they're volatile. They feel like we're attacking them. But in the same voice, you had the people with businesses that are losing their businesses, and they don't get the business because the homeless are there and deterring people from coming there. So you got to see, the meeting was wonderful because you got to see both sides, right? I mean, it's really important for us as citizens to recognize that we want businesses in Vallejo, right? And if we don't get ourselves together, where they should not be zoned where they can stay down here at the waterfront. They should not be there, and we know that, but just down the street, they're away from businesses. So I listen and talk to a lot of business people that are very just, they don't think that they can make it, and it's a lot. They feel like they're not being heard. And then, of course, the homeless, they just want to be wherever they want to be, that they can be. So it was a really good meeting, and I really encourage all of us. And I know that I asked you to send emails out to people when these meetings come up, because as commissioners, I still don't feel, I'm on the fence if I'm going to continue, because as a commissioner, I do not feel like we're moving forward and we're doing anything to make a difference. We have a liaison for the city council, but we're not really working close. And in training, yeah, we do need training, and I think city workers, I would like to see us all get together and have the city workers realize that they are human. It was known that, they bulldozed one of the homeless and he died, right? This is a big problem. This is really, and we're looking at lawsuits now, and there's so many steps that everybody needs to take together and work better together. I would like to see us working better together. And the meeting I went to today that Cassandra James put on at Dan Foley was wonderful. It was about, they did a slideshow, they did presentations, and it was about in Milwaukee, where they basically said, if it's not in my backyard, it's going to be in your front yard, right? So they have to be somewhere. So we need to come on common ground and realize that we need to do what's best for our city, what's best for our businesses, what's best for the homeless. And we have a lot of them that are like 48 years old and up. So, and with the high rents, they're never going to have a place to be. We have to realize all these facts that are reality. And I've been doing this myself for 16 years, and I don't see a light at the end of this tunnel. And I'm hoping now, after today's presentation, I'm hopeful, because what they said that is needed is the mayor, the judges, and the police need to work together so that they can get a handle on helping these people get up, whether it's waive their tickets and help them, get up above, so that they're not, because you can fine them and give them tickets, but they have no money to pay anything. So what are we doing there? So, but that was the key that I thought was really good, is the mayors, the judges, and the police, because they're all really important to work together. So I'm in hopes, and I will pray about it and hope that, I want to be a human relations commission. I am out in the city. I go to a lot of events, and it's the same thing. It's the same story for everyone, that we don't, we're not working together to clean up our city. They think that, you read on Facebook, it's just awful, the things that they say about Vallejo. And that's not true. I was born and raised here, and I don't like to hear those things. That's why I became a human relations commissioner, because I thought it was a good thing to do and to make a difference. But with us meeting every months, and you see that, we just don't have the dedication that we should have, and I don't know what that's going to take. So I'm hoping that we can get our city leaders on the same page with us and get training to help those people who are working with our homeless, because to me, that's our top priority for me, is police. And, Dila and I had met with the police, what, a year, 2 years now, and we were told we couldn't go back. And I think it's important to have a good relationship with police and the community. And that's what we're supposed to be doing. So I'm hoping that things can change and things will get better. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that it?
So I'd like to agendize when we have new business to follow up on the presentations for tonight. If we can circle back to talk about how we can address those two issues.
I'm not sure I understood what the issues were, but if you're wanting to add things to a future agenda, we can do that at the. when we
Yeah,
get
I want to
future
add something to the
items.
future agenda.
Gotcha.
Thank you. So next is the community forum. I don't see anybody here. We don't have any, we don't,
Through the chair, there are no members of the public currently online either.
okay. Thank you, Manny. Okay, moving on to the consent calendar and approval of the agenda. Approval of minutes, by motion of approval of the minutes of January 22nd, 2025. Can we make a motion?
Motion to approve.
Do we get a second?
I second.
Okay. Want to take a vote?
Aye.
Okay. Motion carries unanimously with Commissioner Cohen Bowen absent, Commissioner Morgan Hannigan absent, and Commissioner Davis absent. Thank you. The minutes of January 22nd, 2025 are approved. Next is the information calendar. We have a presentation by the City Attorney's Office on the Brown Act and role of the Commission.
Through the chair, Caitlin, do you mind either sitting at the staff table by chance? Just, I don't have the ability to turn on that microphone readily available at this point. Either on the dais or right there is fine. Yeah, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. All right, so there was a request for a refresher on the Brown Act and just role and mandate of the commission. So for those of you who have served for a while, you've seen this before, but always good to go over it periodically. All right, next slide. So the Brown Act concerns public meetings. Basically, it says that all meetings of a legislative body or a local agency shall be open and public, and persons shall be permitted to attend these meetings and address the local agency. So fundamentally, all of those rules that we have to follow, making sure we don't have quorum meeting together in odd places, discussing business, doing all of this in this meeting format, not discussing things that aren't on the agenda, agendizing to agendize, all of those are to preserve this fundamental right to have open and public meetings so that we're not discussing matters within the body's mandate without members of the public having an opportunity to see what's being discussed and then approach and comment, hear all of those good things. Next slide. So Brown Act applies to Any body that has decision-making authority, whether that's elected or appointed, so that includes governing bodies like the city council, it includes boards and commissions, this commission, standing committees. It does not apply to ad hoc committees, which are if you wanted to deputize a less than a quorum of you to go and handle a certain issue, that would be an ad hoc committee. Those it would not apply to. That's why you're able to meet outside of the meeting, public meeting process when you do that. But it does, when you're all here as a body in a quorum, the Brown Act does apply. Next slide. So what is a meeting? Any number of things can be a meeting. You know, traditionally, what we're doing right now is a meeting, but anything can qualify as a meeting as long as you have a majority of the body in the same location, same time, discussing anything within your jurisdiction, hearing things, deliberating, taking action on things within your jurisdiction. So it can be a majority of the members at any gathering. Next slide. Things that do not qualify as a meeting. So individual contacts between members less than a quorum. If you are attending a conference or seminar, again, provided that you are not discussing matters within your jurisdiction. Social events, attending city council meetings, ad hoc meetings. All of these things are not meetings that need to be public within the meaning of the Brown Act. Next slide. So this gets a little bit tricky with things that you don't really think of as meetings. So things like, I'm going to go over these individually, but serial meetings are the most common types of things that you don't think of as meetings because they're not a group together in the same physical location doing things. So fundamentally, what the Brown Act is trying to do is prevent you from deciding things in private, deciding things, talking about things, working on your mandate without the public having any knowledge or opportunity of it. And so any tricky way that a person could think of to get around the Brown Act prohibits it. There's case law on point. Next slide. So most common example of this is serial meetings, and emails are a common way to do this. So when you send an email to the entire body or you CC each other on an email, if you're discussing things within your jurisdiction, things within your mandate, that is considered a meeting. And it's because of trying to preserve that fundamental right of the public to be there. If you're sending an email about deciding that you want to get together on homelessness or ask for a presentation, things within your jurisdiction, effectively you're communicating together as a body without giving the public any opportunity to come here, address the body. So that is why something like an email, even though it doesn't seem like a meeting, is really a meeting. Social media posts are another tricky one. So suppose one of you posted on your social media about an issue within the commission's jurisdiction and everyone else came in and liked that post. That's now a meeting. That is illegal under the Brown Act. So this is why when you receive emails from us, you're all BCC'd, there's no opportunity to sort of jump in and start discussing matters within the jurisdiction. You know, it's discouraged that you do that. Obviously, you can meet socially. You just have to be very careful not to discuss any matters that are within the commission's jurisdiction. Next slide. Another form of serial meeting is a daisy chain. So in addition to not being able to send an email and copy each other on something that's within your jurisdiction, you also can't do it one at a time. So just because you're not all talking together at the same time doesn't mean that it doesn't qualify as a meeting. Example of this is a phone chain. You know, if I call you and say, what's your opinion on this? And then you call her and you call her and so on and so forth. If you're all discussing matters within the commission's mandate, that's a Brown Act violation. So we discourage that as well. Next slide. Last sort of form of serial meeting here is hub and spoke. So it's also not okay for one person to serve as sort of the center and gather all the information. So you won't find one of us saying, okay, let me see what each of you think about what you want to talk about on your agenda, and then let me communicate that to the chair so that we can talk about putting it on the agenda. Anytime you're sharing that kind of information in any form, whether it's through email, whether it's through an individual person, whether it's one at a time, that's the sort of thing that qualifies as a meeting because it's subverting those purposes of the Brown Act. Next slide. Staff briefings. So staff briefings are okay. They don't subvert the Brown Act, provided that it is one directional. If I'm giving you all information and there's no discussion, there's no back and forth, it's just one piece of information going to all of you, that's not a public meeting. And so that's what you'll see. One of you will ask a legal question. I'll often send out a separate email to all of you addressing the question, just saying, this came up. Now, if I were to send an email saying, this particular commissioner asked me about this because they were thinking that this would impact something that you all want to work on, now we've got a problem. But as long as it's just one directional informational communication, that's okay. We cannot have collective briefings, all of you together with me providing information. That's effectively a meeting. Let's see. And, cannot share views of any of the commissioners in that capacity. So we can't have things where I have a meeting with each one of you individually and I tell you what the other ones think about something that might come within your jurisdiction. That's another form of a meeting that doesn't really feel like a meeting, but is within the meaning of the Brown Act. Next slide. There are some basic rules governing meetings. You all don't have to worry about this too much because staff does it for you, but for a public meeting, you have to give 72 hours notice in advance for a regular meeting, 24 for a special, 24 hours for an adjourned meeting. There's an exception there, and then there's also an emergency meeting exception. Generally, you're not going to have emergencies come up too frequently. It's the type of thing where something happens and you don't have time to react. You have to do it immediately. So things within your jurisdiction probably would not fall within that exception. If you think there's something that does, shoot me an email and I'll look at it individually. Let's see. It's also required under the Brown Act that the agenda be sufficiently specific to give the public notice of what you're going to be discussing and anything that you might take action on. So the agenda has to describe the items that you're going to be discussing in good detail, has to be posted on the website, searchable and downloadable. Next slide. Yeah, this is just again a little bit more detail on the different types of meetings. So we have regular meetings. Those are the ones that are scheduled per the ordinance. There are special meetings, ones called at a time or place other than regular. Adjourned, you adjourn the meeting and then pick it back up, and emergency. We actually do have something a little bit unusual with this commission where you all had a standing special meeting. I don't remember what the schedule is offhand. I do remember at a prior meeting that was set. And we'll need to look that up later to try to figure out when the next one is. But instead of going and amending the ordinance, if you'd like to meet more frequently, an alternative that we had decided on was to have a standing special meeting. It's not a regular meeting because the ordinance doesn't require you to meet at those times, but you had agreed as a body to have a standing special, and that was scheduled. I just don't remember offhand when it was scheduled for. Next slide. All right, so generally discussion at public meetings is limited to what's on the agenda. Again, that's because the public needs notice and an opportunity to respond. If you're going to talk about a very important issue, it's even more important that it's published on the agenda and it's very specific. But there are some exceptions to this. So a brief response to public questions and comments when someone gets up and speaks and you want to briefly respond to them, that's okay. Starts to veer into a Brown Act violation when you get deeply into the topic or start having a general discussion about what they've raised. But just a quick response or a question in response to a speaker is okay. Seeking clarifications from staff, that's all right. So after my presentation, if you have questions, that will not violate the Brown Act as long as it's on this topic. Brief announcements on reports and activities of members, that's what you all do at the beginning. That does not violate the Brown Act. You'll notice that we do put it on the agenda. It's not specific though. We don't list every single thing that each of you are going to say. And the reason we don't have to do that is because it's one of the exceptions here. And requests for future reports from staff and future agenda items. So those are other things where we have a spot on your agenda for general discussion, but we haven't described them specifically. And that's okay because we know that it's for a future time. If there's any action that's going to be taken, discussion on that topic, it will go on a future agenda and it will be described specifically. Next slide. There are some exceptions for late addition of agenda items. If it comes to your attention less than 72 hours before the meeting and absolutely requires action before the next meeting, and you have to make these findings by a 2/3 vote. That's probably not going to come up very frequently, but it could, and this would be the process if it did. Next slide. The Brown Act also requires that we allow public participation. So individuals have to be permitted to come and make comments to the body. We cannot limit speech criticizing policies, public officials, procedures. Can't require someone to identify themselves, but there are other limits that we can impose. So the city has some rules related to conduct that's disruptive when you have public speakers. You can also put down reasonable time limitations. And so you'll notice that we do limit when we have public speakers the amount of time that they're given. And if they start going too crazy, then there's a process for making them leave, essentially. But very important that that's not based on the content of their speech, but rather objective sorts of issues that are disruptive to meetings. Next slide. Closed session meetings are another exception to the open and public requirement. You are still required to have an agenda that describes what's going to be discussed, but it's tricky. So these are intended for the types of things where making them public impedes the body's ability to effectively manage and make decisions. Common things are litigation. This is unlikely to come before you as a body, but for example, with City Council, when we have to meet to discuss pending litigation, possible settlements, strategy, you can understand why it's important that that not be public, but we need direction from that body. So these are the types of things that are appropriate for closed session. Again, unlikely that this applies to you as a commission. Usually it could come up, but that's another exception where those things do not need to be open in public. There are reporting out requirements if a decision is made, and some things need to then be reported to the public after the fact, but the process would be protected. Next slide. So, violations of the Brown Act. Basically, before anyone can sue for a Brown Act violation, they have to give notice and an opportunity to cure. So you're not allowed to have a gotcha. Oh, you violated the Brown Act. You talked about something not on the agenda for that 5 minutes. We're going to sue you and collect millions of dollars. That's not how that works. They have to send notice. If we want to cure it, we would just notice another meeting, put it on the agenda, redo the discussion, the vote, whatever it happens to be. There certainly are potential for attorney's fees and costs if something is found to be a Brown Act violation and there was no cure. If there was a decision that gets overturned, that applies more to, say, planning commission things, city council decisions, things where someone might actually need to go and overturn a decision. Probably won't come up here, but there is that potential. And then there's also potential criminal violations. But again, there's a safe harbor for cure and correct. And the specific procedures, complying with them is important, but for the most part, as long as we've got the fundamentals here, it's an open and public meeting, things are adequately described on the agenda. Most of the time, you won't be found to have violated the Brown Act. Next slide. All right, so moving on to the Human Relations Commission mandate. So boards and commissions are created by City Council through adoption of an ordinance, and that ordinance defines the purpose and powers of each board and commission. In your case, the ordinance is Municipal Code 2.40.010. This is the purpose as set down by City Council when they created this commission. So primarily to promote equal treatment of all individuals, prohibit discrimination based on race, color, national origin, religion, sex, disability, age, genetic information, marital status, sexual or gender orientation and identity, medical condition, political activities, military or veteran status, or status as a victim of domestic violence, and to be a community educator, conciliator, mediator, to create a climate favorable to good human relations among people in the community, and promote just and positive interactions between and among people and groups in the community. Bit of a mouthful, but this is the purpose of the commission. But they did also provide more specifically your duties, your mandate. So I have several slides to just go through those. Next slide. All right, so first part of your mandate specifically set out in that ordinance, lead the community in efforts to foster understanding, appreciation of and for different ethnic, religious, and nationality groups and traditions through education and planning of specific events. So that is specifically written out in the ordinance. Inform and consult with City Council, initiate processes to alleviate tension and conflict, make recommendations as appropriate, educating and referring to the public to appropriate agencies and services in instances of perceived discrimination. This last one, I think, ties in very nice with your interest in homelessness, ways that you can be an educator, you can refer to appropriate agencies, you can work with different groups to try to alleviate perceived discrimination, actual discrimination, ensure services are distributed equally. So that's one sort of key part of your mandate that I think may be important to what you all have expressed interest in. Next slide. Review, educate, and make recommendations to staff, labor groups, civil service, city council, promote equal employment opportunities and fair contracting practices, and consider issues related to effective communications between community and police and justice system, make recommendations to city council. So these are similar to each other in that they both involve gathering information, coming up with ideas, and making recommendations. You know, fundamentally, you're an educational and advisory body. You can do the legwork that city council doesn't have time for. You can bring them what your thoughts are and what your recommendations are. It's a little bit challenging to make sure that you're not usurping the city managers, city staff's role, because they actually have a duty to go and do some of these things. For example, homelessness, city manager makes the decisions on that front, has a duty to do those things. So your role will not be to take over that process, but you can examine it. You can gather information. You can connect them with resources. You can educate the community. You can bring suggestions to city council for ordinances, for policies, for different things. So these are the ways that you don't try to usurp the role of city staff, city manager, and their duties, but can affect change, can gather the information needed and bring it forward. Next slide. This was also written into the statute. If deemed necessary, conduct studies and submit reports and recommendations to City Council on status of human relations in the city. And then I think I talked about that one already. Recommend to City Council legislation or policy changes that would improve good human relations. Next slide. That's pretty much it. Your mandate is a little bit more amorphous than some of the other commissions. Some of them, their charge is to hear specific appeals or reviews or consider specific applications. This one's a little bit more vague, but fundamentally, City Council has laid down your charge as a educator, facilitator, information gatherer, and advisory body. You know, make recommendations, spot where change is needed, get community groups together, those kinds of things. If you have confusion about whether something's within your mandate or not, or ways that you could work with the Human Relations Commission to focus on areas that you're most interested in, I'm a good resource. You can reach out to me, email, phone, anytime. We can chat about that. Just let me know. I'll be happy to answer questions in between meetings. Any questions right now?
I do. So that is really what I was talking about, recommending training. I'd love to see that for city workers and police to get training with iHeart. I really believe that that will help everyone work better together. So how do we go about that?
So what you would do if you wanted to make a recommendation of that sort, I mean, first you would gather information. So you might deputize an ad hoc committee, less than a quorum of you, to go and get information from iHeart about what kinds of training they provide, ways that they could give training that would be relevant to improving human relations in the community, or you individually could gather information from them, or they could come and give a presentation to you. Then you'd have on your agenda discussing what kinds of training would be helpful. That might also include gathering information from police or from city staff on what kind of training they already have, what kind of knowledge they already have. Are there ways that these things could be improved? Are there community events? What would be the best mechanism for this? Things like that. And then you would take your findings. Again, either you would have an ad hoc committee of less than a quorum. That does make things a little bit easier when you assign work out to a small section of you so that you don't have to do everything in a public meeting forum and then bring back homework and proposals. Or you would put it on the action calendar for a public meeting and discuss it openly. Try to decide, well, what is the recommendation? What would make most sense here? What are the human relations issues? Where do you see places where these things could be improved? And then we would, prepare something to present to whoever you were making the recommendation to. So if that's city council, if it's the, city manager's office, the police department, we would formalize it then.
Can I ask a question in regards to that? So we can ask, like, if we can ask for like iHeart or the city manager or even like the new public information officer person, we can ask for them to come to the meeting and give us an idea of how is it that we can work with them or they can work with us, or how, I know we have our city council liaison, but I'm just wondering, because I know the city manager's new. And with iHeart, I've got to meet one of them at the Citizens Academy, but I'm just curious, can we have them come do a presentation on what it is that they do and how it is that we can, what they need from us, or how we can help them?
Yeah, so if you want to agendize for a vote a specific presentation that you all think, discuss that when we get to the future agenda items. If you all think it's a good idea, we would direct our secretary to go and contact them and see if they're available for a presentation. You all would discuss what the appropriate scope would be, what kind of information you're interested in. Alternatively, if one of you wanted to reach out to them, as I know some of you have in the past, you'll reach out to someone specific like Dion
Right.
to come and give a presentation about something. Then you put it to the commission, do you want to hear this presentation? And if there's a vote yes, and the person has time, then again, secretary arranges to bring them in at a specific time. With staff, same thing. You decide that you want that information, you all agree as a body, your liaison will, or your secretary will go and try to work that out. Staff presentations are subject to availability. Everyone's quite busy. And of course, anything needs to be related to your mandate. If it's just information, there's a little bit more flexibility with that. If you want to actually take action on something, then that needs to be squarely within the mandate. Information gathering, you don't know what information you don't have. So getting presentations, as long as there's, a reason that will go into your mandate, that's all okay.
So if we got iHeart to come and did a presentation and then invited Chief Taw or someone from the police department so that they could sit in, or just let them know that, we just want to get them the information and the training. So, because that's really what we're supposed to be doing, correct? And so if we start with the agenda with the iHeart and then go from there, is that how the best process?
Yes, or you could deputize an ad hoc committee to go and talk to these different groups and then bring back the information that you learned and synthesize it. So that's another way where it would be a little bit less formal. Obviously you would still need to have on your agenda in advance that you're going to create an ad hoc committee. But then once you have that group of less than a quorum and you have this projects that you're working on, then you have a little bit more freedom to gather information.
That was similar to what Deal and I did with the police, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Thank you.
I have another question. So do we have a city, the city of Vallejo, I know, do they have a table at the farmer's market every Saturday? Is it the city that has the table? I know that there's some form of someone from the city that's usually there at a table. I'm not sure if that's through the city. I'm just wondering if we can maybe assign, because I usually go anyway, but that way, because we need to engage more with the community so that they know that we even exist. You know what I mean? So I'm just trying to figure out what is the best way, and that happens, or the art walk, something like that. You know what I mean? If I'm going to go anyway, I can represent. How would I correctly do that as far as, or do we need to assign somebody, that's going to be there anyway to do that, or I'm not really sure.
Well, it sounds like step one would be to figure out, I don't know if the city has a table at every single farmer's market. That's something that your secretary can look into to see what's available. And if there is a table, would there be room for a commissioner to be there and speak to the public? And then if there's that availability, once you have that information, if you want to consider regularly sending someone as an action of the commission, we would put that on your action calendar to vote and discuss. Yeah. Or if you wanted to, again, subcommittee to ad hoc committee to talk about it separately or to arrange that. People who want to go to the farmer's market, as long as it's less than a quorum, you could deputize that as long as that's on the action calendar on your agenda, and then you all could work that out among you. It really just kind of depends on what you want to do. If the commission wants to, I don't know, put out specific information to the public or gather specific information, or if they just want to be there, those are the types of decisions that you could make when you're meeting here as a body. And then, once you've made that decision, then you just go implement. Other questions?
No, I think that's what Matulik said, that we could get a table at the farmer's market if we want and have our information there. Now, can there be two of us, or we have to deputize each other?
2 is fine.
Okay, you take care of that.
Sure. Anything else?
Yes, I have a quick question. I just need some clarification on the part where you say, can I ask someone to identify themselves? Are you talking about like their gender? Are you talking about a meeting from here, or if we go to an event and they want to say something, ask them like, hey, can you tell me your job position or whatever? I'm just trying to get a better understanding of what you mean by identify themselves.
Sure, that's actually just specific to comment at public meetings. So if someone comes up and they start saying, that Caitlin Knight is just terrible and she's got to go and she's, she strangles puppies for a living, And I said, who are you, sir? I can't do that. I can't demand that they identify themselves, tell me who they are. You can comment anonymously at a public meeting.
Okay.
That's all that means.
Okay, thank you.
I like to use myself as an example, yeah. Other questions?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, we're moving on to item 8, action calendar. Discussion and approval of Human Relations Commission 2025-2026 goals.
So just a quick note, it looked like during your last meeting, which I unfortunately missed, you all had come to some consensus that you wanted to keep the same goals that had been in place. And so this was just if you wanted to approve that decision formally, or if you wanted to continue discussion of that.
So we decided that we would just approve them as written because we had not sufficiently met those goals. And so I think we just vote on them at this point in time. So I can make the motion. So I, Commissioner Morris, move that we approve the existing goals for 25-26.
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
Action item 8B, discussion of human relations issues related to homelessness and ways that the commission could provide education, advice, or assistance.
And I had another note on this one. So I carried this forward from prior meetings because I think it was an open discussion item. If you'd like to just move it to the next meeting, you can certainly do that, or you can discuss those items tonight.
So I would like to actually make a motion on this specific topic, that we deputize Commissioner Serafino and Commissioner Stahl Nash to do some research as it relates to homelessness, and gather some data, gather some information about the organizations that are actually out there on the ground addressing homelessness, and bring that information back to the commission so that we can make a comprehensive decision on how to move forward. Either we move forward with education, with our community partners. I'm not necessarily interested in educating the staff or employees of the city at this point, but I am looking to bring information to the community on the resources that are available to them, but we need to have more defined information to do so.
So this isn't written in quite a way that you could deputize or create an ad hoc committee for that purpose tonight, but you can absolutely, this is part of the discussion of basically different things that you could do and explore to provide education, advice, or assistance. And so we could put on for the next agenda if you, if there's interest in creating it, that specific ad hoc committee.
So I need a motion for that, right? To put it on the agenda for next,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah.
So I, Commissioner Morris, move that we agendize deputizing Commissioner Serafino and Commissioner Stahl Nash to bring back comprehensive information as it relates to homelessness and the organizations that are participating in addressing those issues within the city of Vallejo.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Vote?
Aye.
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 I'm sorry, did Commissioner Davis?
Would you like to vote, or you can abstain if you didn't quite catch it?
I abstain, I didn't catch it.
Okay. So motion carries unanimously with Commissioner Cohen Bowen absent and Commissioner Morgan Hannigan absent, and Commissioner Davis abstains. So this will be added to the next agenda, right?
I was going to ask about the meeting, I don't know, would you do that? Or putting on it about, you said we have a special, we have already something in place saying that we could have a special meeting? Is that what it is? As far as meeting more frequently, maybe once a month rather than every 3 months? Right, so what would, how do we do that?
Yeah. Yeah. Agendize to agendize, so we can, when we get to the future agenda
Okay.
items, we can talk about whether you all want to do that.
Okay,
My
to
recollection was that there is a standing special meeting. I don't think it's monthly, but I do think it was more frequently. We can call a special. You can, yeah.
Okay, moving to item 9A, future agenda items, presentation by first responders transformation, how to envision first responders' roles in the community.
So this was another carry forward. It was an idea. I don't know if the idea is ripe for a vote yet.
So the team, we're planning to meet next month to discuss the findings from the 3 deliberation sessions that were held in 2024. And so once our team of researchers and public health advocates get together to discuss these findings, we'll have something more concrete to present.
So we'll just continue carrying it forward to the next agenda. 9B, presentation by Pathfinders for Hope on Homelessness.
He did that last time, didn't he? Yeah. Yes,
So, okay.
he did it last time. That was just,
Okay, I'm sorry. Oh. I'm sorry, I have a question with regards to my fellow commissioners. Some of the things that are coming up when I'm in the community is knowing what we do. And so wanting to see how we can bring forward a discussion in maybe facilitating communication, dialogue, community convenings with community members to express to them or explain to them what it is that the Human Relations Commission does and how they can leverage this space to elevate concerns, since we do have a liaison that sits on the dais.
So prior to your arrival, that we had brief discussion, and I think a couple of things need to happen prior to us talking about that, because we have 3 potential board commissioners that are rolling off in June. And so that's a real concern as to whether those individuals will continue to move forward, or that there's going to be new individuals coming on. So I think we need to address that before we start putting out there what we do, because we need to have commitment and consistency amongst ourselves and understand our roles and responsibilities. We just had a presentation from the city manager's office on the Brown Act. So I would hesitate as a chair for us to be interfacing with the community when we're kind of still trying to get grounded ourselves. So if we can hold that for a future item, that would be my recommendation.
Yeah, I agree that we hold that as a future item, but it's important that we actually we go into the community and sit with the community. Yeah, some of the challenges, because I am one of those board members or commissioners that's terming in June. Not necessarily, it's just my name was picked. I was the shorter end of the stick. And so I think I do agree with you with regards to when it comes to consistency and, around who serves on this commission and onboarding, definitely getting the new members, commissioners onboarded. But the ones that are still going to be here, that should be something that at least a conversation or some thoughts around how we want to facilitate those dialogues in the community could start happening now. So.
I took a stack of our brochures to the senior center, and they were actually surprised we existed. So I do agree that, our community is in lack of knowledge of what we are about, because as you see, we don't have a lot of participation with that. So in the future, I think it's a great idea.
So is there a potential motion for discussion of different things the commission could do to be out in the community more, or is it something more specific?
Sorry, I was going to make a comment on that. You know, before you came today, I was just saying how I was asking if we could have somebody regularly at the farmers market or at, you know, when there is an event. You know, I've seen a couple people at a certain events, things like that, where we can have a person. You know, I remember last year at the Waterfront Festival, we had to kind of come up with a schedule a little bit so that where there wasn't too many of us there at the same time representing the commission rather than just being there as the public, correct? So, but I think it should be more. I think it should be more part of our. If we're human relations, I think that we need to be relating to.
Correct. So, yeah, that it's more so than just being out in the community and just representing the commission. It's having intentional conversations around who it is and what we do. And again, I think as we continue to figure out what our priorities are, and I'm sorry for my being late, and maybe that we'll look at what those, how we can structure that. But I do agree that, you know, again, we got to do more than just going and attending community events and just wearing name tags. We need to have some intentional conversations with the community to understand what these needs are, and so they know who we are as a commission, and to show up in these audience because we're having conversations amongst ourselves. So.
Yeah, could we get a motion for if you all want to put something on the action calendar for future agenda?
I motion to put it on as a calendar action.
And so what I think I heard is, based on discussions, that's a motion to put on the action calendar. Discussion of ways that the commission could have intentional contacts, conversations with community members to get their name out there, which may include a regular presence at events. Does that sound good?
Can you repeat that again? I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Sure. So a discussion of ways that the commission can have more intentional contacts and conversations with community, let them know the commission's purpose, existence, possibly to include regular presence at events or, you know, action that may be taken by individual commissioners. Yeah. Is there a second?
Do we, oh, go ahead.
I second.
Okay, let's take a vote.
Aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously with Commissioner Cohen Bowen and Commissioner Morgan Hannigan absent.
I think I had heard earlier, Commissioner Serafino, that you maybe wanted to move to add to the agenda discussion of changing the standing meeting schedule or making sure we have one in place.
Yeah, I just think I would like to put a motion forward to say that we set a meeting sooner than 3 months from. I don't know if you guys want to do it in a month, but we can come up, yeah, right, a special meeting. I would say, let's see, when would be our next meeting? July. So I would say, this is already April. So what would you say, May or June? That we would set a special meeting to meet before July.
Is there a second for that or an alternative motion proposed?
So I'll wait for the question because I can't make them, because there's some.
Okay. Can I help to clarify anything for anyone?
So we were supposed to have a special meeting and we don't have that date yet. So it's hard for me to vote on something when we don't know what the date of that special meeting was supposed to be.
And if four of us are going off in June, how's that going to work?
Well, so as I said earlier.
We're just going to roll with it.
Just
Okay.
because your term is ended, yeah, you'd be expected to roll forward. We don't have an application timeline set up yet, so I think pretty confident that won't have completed that by the next meeting. So assuming you all want to continue, it will be you all. How about this? If we don't have a set special meeting before July, are the commissioners agree that they would like to have one before July?
Yes, I would say so, just because if we are going to be worrying about rolling, if anybody rolls out or if we get a new, I just think it would be good if we met before that happens.
Yeah, if I'm hearing you correctly, meeting in July, or meeting before July to discuss, I guess, the status of those who are rolling off in June, to see if we're staying on or if we're staying off, and what the application or the onboarding process of the three new commissioners would look like. Okay, okay.
So I think if I understood the pending motion, it's to have a special meeting sooner than July, May or June, if we can have one. I would, unless there's different direction from the commission, just have that include all of the things that we had discussed for the next agenda. If you want to set one specifically to discuss whether commissioners are rolling forward or not, that is something that you can do. Or if you just want to roll that into the next agenda that includes other items, that's also something you can do. It doesn't look like there's a special meeting currently set based on what we're looking at. That may be, yeah, it is always subject to staff and room availability. Yeah, so it may be that there isn't one set during that time frame just for that reason, but that you all had decided on a more regular special meeting. It just happens to not be on. If you'd like, we can still vote to try to set one between now and the July meeting, and then staff will determine whether that's possible or not.
When's our next meeting? July 24th?
Yeah, it's whatever the fourth Wednesday in July is.
July 24th.
23rd.
I'm sorry, July 23rd.
So then what we would do is set in motion that the secretary would let us know if there's availability before July, that July meeting, so that we can meet before then, if it's possible.
Right, so if you all do want to have a meeting before the July meeting, then what will happen is secretary will go and determine if there's room, if there's staff, and then pull you all for your availability.
So I'm Commissioner Morris move that the secretary identify a date in which we can meet prior to the July 23rd set date. And if there is a date, then we will have a special meeting on that available date.
I second.
Do I take a vote?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Motion carries unanimously with Commissioner Cohen Bowen and Commissioner Morgan Hannigan absent.
I just have one other motion I would like to, for future, is a presentation, maybe talking to someone from iHeart to see if they can come do a presentation for us when they're available.
Well, that's what we're going to do, is remember, we're going to, yeah, okay.
That back.
Is that all we have?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned at 7:17.
You know, I took a bunch of notes. I'm in the Citizens Academy when we had the fire department come. My friend's the chief. I asked a bunch of questions. I took a bunch of notes. I didn't know if you, I thought about you.
Can all members of the HRC please make sure the mics are muted?
Okay.